Kevin Owens is 100% walking out of the Royal Rumble as WWE Champion, and it's going to be thanks to Sami Zayn. Their segment last night on Raw really made me believe that Cody Rhodes is going to walk out of the Royal Rumble as the former WWE Champion in their ladder match with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens' segment with Sami was just magnificent last night. I really enjoyed that segment. One of my favorite segments they've had. A lot of backstory coming over from last year to now. Kevin had crazy explanations on why he still was friends with Sami over Cody. It was so freaking good how Kevin Owens is on the mic and just how he explained himself in that segment. And it made you, again, believe Kevin Owens and think Kevin is right. But that whole Raw was really good last night. I really think they found the sweet spot in 2.5 hours. It is just enough time to fit a lot of stuff in while not going overboard. And so much went down in that 2.5 hours. So here's my thoughts on the January 20th Monday Night Raw. But before we get fully into my review, guys, don't forget I do live reactions to Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, and all of the pay-per-views and PLEs on my Twitch and right here on YouTube. So make sure you guys are subscribed here on YouTube. Make sure you're following me on Twitch and you got notifications turned on for both platforms so you know when I go live, so you could be there live for these live reactions and see my live thoughts as the show plays out. I also post those reactions to my social media like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So make sure you guys are following me everywhere. I also have a Discord to keep up with everything I'm doing. So make sure you guys join the Discord. And we're about to boost up again our private memberships, which are basically Patreon, but they're on my website, Fourth Wall. So Fourth Wall is a great website where you can do merch as well as private memberships, as well as link all of your socials all in one place. It's a great place, man. So if you guys are ready for some exclusive watch-alongs to past Royal Rumbles, as well as exclusive watch-alongs to current matches that you normally won't see me post anywhere, make sure you guys go and join my private memberships on my Fourth Wall. All the links to my social medias and my private memberships are down below, guys. But first, like this video, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into the Raw review. The Raw starts with all of the wrestlers, as always, arriving to the arena. They show Rhea Ripley arriving with her Women's World Championship, but she's met by former WWE Women's Champion from SmackDown, Nia Jax. Nia comes and squashes her against the wall outside of the arena, basically, as she's walking in. Of course, she starts beating her down. We see all the refs come and try to separate them, which was kind of interesting that they brought Nia over. It's like, how deep is that women's division, Hunter, that you're bringing over Nia? And I think Nia's on the best run of her career. She's improved drastically since her first run, and I just was a little surprised that we're jumping back on the Rhea Nia train. I mean, we obviously had them last February at Elimination Chamber, but I really don't think we need to be doing this matchup again. There's just so many women you have in this division that you can help build back up. The fact that it is going to be Nia versus Rhea this Saturday, I'm 100% fine with, but I just feel like you could have definitely went with someone else. But it's not the end of the world. It's just a little gripe there, and I'm ready to move on. Raw starts out with Jey Uso making his way to the ring. In a hilarious moment, Michael Cole was super hyped, even without Pat McAfee, and he was doing all the yeeting in front of the commentary desk while Wade Barrett was just, it seemed like ashamed. Really, it just seemed like he was ashamed of Michael Cole. But Michael Cole didn't give a crap. He was spinning in circles, doing the yeet. It was freaking amazing. But as soon as Jey takes the ring, he talks about how he's going to win the title at Saturday night's main event, but Gunther immediately interrupts. We're barely 10 seconds into this guy's promo, and Gunther was ready for him. Gunther laughs off Jey's plans of becoming world champion. He says that he's a joke, and Jey last week looked him in the eye and said every day he bets on himself, and he believed him. He was excited for their match until now, when he saw him walking in there pretending like their conversation didn't even happen. He said he's acting like a complete dork, like a mascot, and now he reckons he might as well fight Jimmy. Jey never follows up with his words and what he bets on himself until his cousin calls for him. Damn. Or even until Sami, Jimmy, or Cody need him. Damn. Gunther goes on to say that Jey Uso's words do not align with his actions, and that Gunther's does. He also claims that on Saturday, when that bells ring, he's going to expose Jey Uso as a flash in the pan with no business to being that close to the World Heavyweight title. Jey says Gunther was right, which I was a little surprised by, and that he is a mascot, and the people in the crowd are his team, his squad, who ride and die with him, and they'll be with him until he wins the title this Saturday, which was pretty dope comeback. Jey also goes to point out that out of the two people in the ring right then and there, only one of them had main evented WrestleMania. That pissed off Gunther enough to where they start brawling back and forth. We see refs come out. They finally get them separated, but that made me a lot more excited for their match this Saturday. I didn't think there was a lot of build going on for Saturday night's main event, but I'm properly excited for this match now. We immediately cut backstage where the New Day are walking and they run into JBL. They're like, oh, here's the guy who will understand why we did what we did to Big E. Kofi goes on to put $2 in the pocket of JBL. And he's like, yeah, well, why don't you go out there and tell the people how cool we are and you understand why we did what we did. And then JBL's like, yeah, I understand it. Who needs a cool guy with big muscles, with lots of charisma that the fans love, that when he swivels his hips, they go crazy for? Like, who wants that on their team? And the New Day are just like, well, fuck you then. I mean, they didn't say that, but they might as well have because they're on fucking Netflix. So the New Day just walk away in a heap of sadness. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. We immediately get Bayley on an interview once we come back from commercial break, who makes it official, even though they announced it prior to Raw, that she is now transferred over to Monday Night Raw through the transfer window, and she has declared herself for the Women's Royal Rumble. Then in a funny moment, Nia Jax walks up and the audio ceased to work. I'm assuming it's because Jackie had walked off with the mic and they, for some reason, weren't cutting the mic on the camera. So we just see Nia doing this for a minute. And then we just cut back to her saying, and I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. Bayley's like, bitch, if you try to do what you did to Rhea to me right now, you ain't going to be ready for what happens. And Nia's like, psh. You know, and then that was basically it. We see the New Day enter the arena. Kofi's in a match against Rey Mysterio, and that's just the basic, why are you booing us? Type of stuff. And I'm kind of getting tired of it. Not gonna lie. But the match with Rey Mysterio was really good. Kofi Kingston and Rey actually had a really great match. Back and forth action. The very end saw Rey Mysterio go for the 619, which he connected. Then he went to go for a splash after the 619, but Kofi got his feet up. And what was an amazing reversal to the boom drop, we saw Rey Mysterio get the 1, 2, 3 for the victory. Of course, Kofi and Woods got mad, so they beat down Rey Mysterio, but luckily, and a little late if you ask me, the LWO were like, Charles Robinson. No, I mean, it looked like kind of like a long ramp. So Charles Robinson, that bitch. And they got down there and they ran off the New Day. But then they're pretty blind to the fact that the New Day didn't leave ringside. So we saw Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. They're like, oh, are you okay, Ray? And so their backs are turned. So we just see Woods. You drag out Joaquin and they start beating him down before Cruz leaves the ring and they start finally running away. So it's like, really, LWO? I'm not going to lie. As much as I love the LWO, I love Rey Mysterio, this faction seems so incompetent. They barely win matches as a team. And when they do, they're super fucking forgettable. And they just don't really have anything going on that make you super invested in them. They're great wrestlers and all, but man, the LWO have been so forgettable since the 2+ years almost now that they've been a faction in WWE. Like, can we get something besides people leaving the faction to keep us interested in them? Like, come on, Hunter. From there, we see Chad Gable like yelling at American Made, at least seemingly yelling at them. Jackie Redman or whoever, I forgot what it was. I think it might have been Byron, was supposed to cut an interview with them. They're like, well, we're supposed to talk to him. And he comes, he's like, just give my team a pet talk, even though he obviously was yelling at them out of anger. But he goes on to say that he has an issue wrestling luchadors. He lost to Ray. He's lost to Dragon Lee. He's lost to Penta. So he's going to go to the one person that he knows can help him with the luchadors. And it was a man with a beautiful mustache named Dirty Dominic Mysterio. And from there, we see the Creed brothers like, yeah, and we're going to get those tag titles. And then we saw Ivy Nile like, yeah, and I'm going to get that women's IC title. And then Chad Gable's just like, yeah, Creeds and all of us are going to be draped in gold. Could you imagine? And then he just walks away. That would be pretty neat. But I'm also not a big fan of like a faction that has all the gold. Like, it very rarely works out well. The only time I could think of it like kind of panning out well for at least like the first month or two, I don't even remember how long they had it, was the Undisputed Era. I was happy with that. I thought the storytelling was done proper for it. But then eventually it did get stale. So at the end of the day, I do not really care for factions like having all the gold. I thought Judgment Day was really boring when they were like that. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Should the Creeds, Ivy, and Chad all be draped in gold? Would you guys enjoy that? I don't know. This was my favorite part of the show. Sami Zayn enters the arena. He declares himself for the 2025 Royal Rumble, and he talks about how Seth Rollins told him last week that he spends too much time helping other people and not thinking about what he wants. He says 14-year-old him wanted the WWE title. That was his dream, to be the WWE champion. But he also says that there's a very small group of wrestlers who get lucky enough to call themselves WWE superstars. Says they're the smallest group at the top. He says he's one of those guys, and there's a difference between him and all of them is that they've had the WWE championship, like Drew, Punk, Roman, Seth. but he hasn't. But he's still in that same echelon of those superstars. And I actually would agree. He also goes on to say that life also, as a WWE superstar, isn't all about titles or the WWE Championship, and that he doesn't need the WWE Championship. He doesn't need it to say he's had a great career or a great life, or he just doesn't need it to be accomplished in pro wrestling. But he says, damn it, he wants it. It was just such another great Sami Zayn promo. His intensity, the way he delivers, always, just even now, I'm not even gonna lie, like, just thinking about it, I get a little bit of goosebumpies, little goose pimples. But immediately, Kevin Owens came out in a Bret Hart jacket with the winged eagle, and we all immediately held our breath and like, ooh. Because we haven't seen them interact in quite a while, since Kevin Owens has this new side of him, well, I guess old side that he's brought back out. But like, we haven't seen anything, and obviously he's mad at Cody for teaming with Roman, and now Sami did that at War Games. But Kevin actually had some nice things to say, and really unexpected things to say. Sami calls him out and says that I knew it was only a matter of time before we had this conversation. Owens looks confused. He says the whole world saw what he did to Cody, so how is this going to go down? Kevin admits that he didn't understand why Sami helped Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, but then he thought about it and realized it was different than Cody's. Kevin says Sami and Roman have a lot of history, much like him and Kevin do, and Zayn has overlooked a lot of things that Reigns has done to him, much like he's done with Kevin. But that's what Sami does, because he's a good person, and Seth is right. Zayn does a lot for his friends, and that's why he's here as his very best friend. So Kevin seemingly manipulating him here at least a bit, or at least gaslighting him. Like, you're gonna say the opposite to Cody, who teamed with Roman, who's had a history with him, but to Sami, because he's had the history, it's okay. He goes on to say that he believes Sami Zayn can and will win the Royal Rumble because he deserves to win it, and he deserves to fight for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. He says that they can accomplish one more thing together as friends, and that is to face for the WWE Championship at the main event of WrestleMania. He basically told Sami, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, insinuating if you help me beat Cody at the Royal Rumble, I will help you win the Royal Rumble. Zayn looked super fucking confused during this, because obviously he wants to win the Royal Rumble, but at what cost does he really want to win the Royal Rumble? Now, this whole segment was done fucking amazingly. The facial expressions of both men, the delivery of both men, just made your brain really rack like, whoa, this is fucked up what Kevin's saying right now, because he's literally telling him, help me win and I'll help you. It's as clear as day that Kevin Owens doesn't believe in himself to beat Cody one-on-one in a ladder match with no rules. But again, no rules. That means Sami can get involved and there's no repercussions to that. That means it's fair game. But at the same time, Cody had to have seen this, right? If Cody saw this, he has to be getting ready with Jay and Jimmy possibly helping him. But I don't think Sami will stoop to that level. If anything, my prediction would be Sami does come out during that title match for the ladder match for the titles, and he looks like he's about to help KO, but doesn't. Or he ends up helping Cody Rhodes. At the end of the day, this has me super fucking hyped for their match at the Royal Rumble, and I'm just ready for anything to go down in that ladder match, and I think this was the perfect fucking promo. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn always deliver in segments like this, and it just made me super hyped for their match. After that, we get a Sheamus promo. He said that some people would say that he has a perfect WWE career backwards because he beat John Cena about 6 months in, but the Intercontinental title is the only one that's eluded him this whole time. So he won the WWE title within 6 months of his debut in the WWE, and here he is still trying to get that elusive Intercontinental title. Eventually, we do see Braun Breaker walk up. He says that to look at the title, he says that this is as close as he'll ever get to it because on Saturday, he's going to break him like an old man. So do a favor and retire. Yikes. But I actually wouldn't be surprised if Sheamus gets the win here at Saturday night's main event for the Intercontinental title. I think he should get that accolade and become a Grand Slam champion. What's all your thoughts? Let me know. Should Sheamus, or is Sheamus going to beat Braun Breaker this Saturday at Saturday night's main event? I got a big fat yes on it. Nia Jax and Bayley got a decent amount of time on Monday Night Raw for their match, and these two have fought a lot in recent times in the last year or so, but this match was really good. Again, I said it earlier, but I think Nia Jax has greatly improved since her first run in the WWE. She's really improved in the ring. I think she's improved on the mic. So this match actually was pretty solid. At the end of the day, we saw Nia Jax get the win, which was really interesting though, because during the match, we saw once again Roxanne Perez, who started feuding with Bayley last Tuesday on NXT. We saw her get involved in her match last Friday, and now we saw her tonight where she actually tried to hit Bayley, but Bayley was wise to it, blocked it, and hit herself, but in a funny moment when they had security trying to carry Roxanne out of the arena after Bailey had hit her because, you know, Roxanne was flailing around all crazy. There was a fan at the end of the aisle where Roxanne was sitting, and like Roxanne's just going crazy, and security, you know, they're kind of struggling. Obviously, it's all part of the act, but like Roxanne's flailing so hard that she hits this fan, like, or like taps her, and the fan loses her balance and completely falls off the chair, and the fan's laughing. She's having a good time, but it was fucking hilarious. But at the end of the day, I did see some people say that this match shouldn't have had to happen with Bailey. It should have been with a different woman, because it's just kind of ruining the feud of Bailey and Roxanne Perez. Like, why would you give Bailey a loss when you're trying to elevate Roxanne Perez up to this main roster right now? And I could kind of see that point. You didn't really need Bailey to suffer a loss, especially if she's former WWE Women's Champion. You're trying to elevate Roxanne, giving her a big feud on her like main roster debut. So I could kind of see why some people didn't like the idea of Bailey losing to Nia before she gets this big feud with Roxanne going. I understand it, but at the same time, I don't hate it. I don't think it's that big of a detriment to Roxanne versus Bailey, but I do understand where those people are coming from. Let me know what you think. Is it a bad idea to have Bailey lose while setting up this feud with Roxanne in the comments? Because I don't think it's that bad. But of course, after the match, we saw Rhea Ripley come down to the ring and brawl with Nia. They had a pull-apart brawl. We had all the producers and refs come down and split them up, and then they just kept breaking free and going back at each other, and they had to clear the announce desk, and all these people had to come out and separate them. It was pretty dope. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I think that this last second build to Nia and Rhea just really isn't it for me. Like, it's happening this Saturday night's main event. They really started building it last week. So I really am not too hyped for this matchup, especially since we saw it last year at Elimination Chamber. Should be a fine match, but I'm not that invested in it. There was a lot of segments on this show, but I think it was still a really well done show. As much as I love in-ring work, and I always praise in-ring work on a weekly show, I thought this show was well balanced when it came to the segments, because it was a lot of important stuff. And this next one especially, because we saw Chad Gable talking in the Judgment Day clubhouse to Dominic Mysterio. He was looking for tips against luchadors. But what was more interesting is that it's not Dom who's going to end up helping him. Dom gave him someone that can help him. He handed him a piece of paper with someone's name or number on it to help him against luchadors. Now, who is that? I seen the IWC speculate Conan, or maybe even a Dark Penta, which I don't think that makes any sense, but I just don't know who this is going to be. Conan would make sense, but I just don't know who else this could be. So let me know in the comments down below, who is going to help Chad Gable against the luchadors. After that, we see JD McDonough. He says that they have a rematch against the War Raiders for the WWE World Tag Titles next Monday, but Finn is out hurt. So Dom, he goes, oh, you know what? I'll step in. We see Liv go like, oh, look at you, Dom, filling in, blah, 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 hyping him up a little bit. But then she could kind of tell that she's still a little bit mad about how he tried to go back to Rhea a few weeks ago. Mysterio tells her like, hey, I know that you said you're not mad, but I have an idea to make it up to you. She's like, yeah, you will. She's like, drags him off with him. I was like, God damn. We get a video package for Lyra Valkyria winning her WWE Intercontinental Championship, and it was not what I expected. They said we were going to hear from her, and we did, but it was like a rather forgettable, like, I'm going to be a defending champion, and I'm going to make this mean something. And it was just like 15 seconds. Like 20 seconds video package. It was so short, so forgettable that I'm like, damn, don't make me feel like this title isn't going to mean anything now. We'll see. I mean, we're going to do the wait and see thing. I just didn't really care for that video package. We see Sami Zayn eventually catch up to Seth Rollins backstage. He thanks him for their talk last week. Seth says he heard him out there and he respects him and he's almost rooting for him in the Royal Rumble. But of course, if push comes to shove, he'll throw him right over the top. Zayn, of course, says if he doesn't, he'll do it first. So some good sportsmanship, but I feel like we're building to something with Seth and Sami Zayn. But what made this even more interesting is after Seth and Sami were done talking, we kind of panned, and behind Seth Rollins was Karrion Kross staring down Seth Rollins, and Seth had no idea he was looking at him. So we're definitely getting something with Kross and Seth, maybe even starting at the Royal Rumble. That makes me pretty hyped, I'm not going to lie. From there, we get a really great match between Penta and Pete Dunne. We're seeing it back and forth, the finger breaking. We're seeing the Mexican Destroyer. And at the end of the day, Penta wins with the Penta Driver in a really good matchup. Penta is showing that he is really great in ring, and he doesn't need all of the bells and whistles that he used outside of the WWE. He's still a damn good luchador, and he's definitely toned down his style the last 2 weeks. It is nowhere near what he used to do outside of the WWE, but man, is he good regardless. So I don't care if he does all those bells and whistles. Those are just added cherries on top for me now, because this man is a worker and he had a great match with Heat Done. And probably my second favorite moment on Raw, CM Punk had an interview with Jackie at the top of like the arena. There's like this little like view area where like they were just up in the crowd, and CM Punk comes out through the crowd, goes up to Jackie for his interview, talks about the Royal Rumble, how he can't see some of the people in the Rumble. He basically name drops everyone. He says he can't see John Cena throwing him over the top. Roman Reigns needed his help to settle family business at War Games. He put Drew McIntyre in the dirt. Sami Zayn isn't even on his level. And if you even put Hulk Hogan in the Royal Rumble, he'll put his dusty ass over the top and end Hulkamania once and for all, brother. Which was awesome line because Hulk Hogan. So will CM Punk walk out of the Royal Rumble the winner? I know we're less than 2 weeks to that Royal Rumble match, and I feel like this is probably one of the most unpredictable Royal Rumbles that we've had in years. For the women's, I definitely am very up in the air on who's going to win that one. But for the men, I think it's either going to be Cena or Punk, but I don't have a definitive answer here. We got a tag team match as Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler from PFC take on Damage Control's Dakota Kai and Io Sky in a pretty fun matchup. I didn't really feel like this one stood out or anything, but it also didn't really like make me say like, I can't believe this match is happening right now. It was there. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It told the story of PFC Damage Control, with Damage Control picking up the win. But I haven't been invested in PFC or this feud with Damage Control, and I love Damage Control. Obviously, they took out Kyrie like a month ago, and she's out with like a real injury because of it, or they wrote her off because she had a real injury, so that's how they wrote her off. Point being, that's like the most important thing of this storyline, and it just, I didn't really care. I didn't really care for them to try to get back for Kyrie being injured. I really didn't. And then in our main event, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, a WrestleMania 40 rematch. Now, unfortunately, this is where I started to have even more technical difficulties on my live stream last night. So I felt like I wasn't super invested as much as I was into this match until after the last commercial break, where we came back to a hot crowd and McIntyre landing an insane Michinoku driver for a near fall. We saw back and forth with Seth ducking the Claymore. Drew hit a spine buster into a jackknife pin. Still no. Falcon Arrow from Rollins gets a near fall. The Future Shock was countered into a pedigree, which was countered into a lariat that dropped Seth. Eventually, Seth gets McIntyre into a crossface, but Drew is able to get to the ropes. But right after that, he pulls Seth's hair into a Future Shock, and it's still not enough for the victory. But Seth Rollins finally gets him with the roll-up in a really good Monday Night Raw main event. Even though I was having technical issues, they were still able to draw me back in with my technical issues still happening at the same time, in a really fun rematch. And not a shock, after the match, Drew McIntyre has to go fucking crazy and ballistic and starts beating the shit out of Seth. He drags him over to the corner and puts him against the post, but Sami Zayn comes out to make the save. He puts Drew into the post. Sami checks on Seth and rolls him to the safe side of the ring so Drew's out of the way before going back against Drew, and he gets a Glasgow kiss and thrown into the barricade. They go back into the ring where Seth is against the turnbuckle. We see Sami setting up for a haluva kick on Drew, who's basically in front of Seth. Seth gets hit with the haluva kick, goes down, but also looks at Sami in utter shock at what just happened. Drew rolls out of the ring all happy about it, and he's all happy. He walks away, and Sami's like, man, that wasn't intended for you. And Seth's like, why? He didn't really say that, but that was the look on his face, was just, why? And that was Monday Night Raw. Overall, it was a really good Raw, and even though I'm a match guy and I love the in-ring aspect of it, I would give last night's in-ring aspect of Raw a 3 out of 5. I thought we had some pretty solid matches overall that were really good. Some of them were but most of them were pretty good. When it came to the storytelling of Raw, I give it a 4 out of 5. If I had to rate it all combined, I give it around a 4.25 out of 5. This is a really solid Raw overall. If you guys like my reviews, make sure you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below that you love these videos so it lets me know to keep doing more. Don't forget to follow me everywhere. If you follow me on Twitch, that is where I mostly do my live reactions. I also simulcast it here on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have notifications turned on so you know when I go live on Twitch and YouTube for live reactions. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. That's where I post the reactions during the stream, so if you're not able to make it to the live, that's where they'll be. As well as, don't forget, I do have a Discord, and I'm going to reboot my Fourth Wall exclusive memberships. It's basically Patreon, but through Fourth Wall, I'll be doing exclusive match watch-alongs and so much more there, guys. So make sure you guys join me and follow me and subscribe to me everywhere, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.